they posted photos of my manager's infant daughter, my makeup artist, my family members. Lots of voicemail from my producer.
Yeah, Israel, I get the Jews. I get it. I understand. You think it's my first rodeo with you dipshits? I know exactly what you're doing.
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
Candace Owens is facing intense backlash after releasing a new docuseries that takes a closer look at Erika Kirk, and the reaction has quickly turned into a story of its own. Online discussions exploded almost immediately after the project was announced, with social media lighting up across multiple platforms. Reports began circulating that Erika may have supported a group of online influencers who suddenly started posting strong criticism directed straight at Candace. Some of the language used in those posts was extremely harsh, and when conversations reach that level of intensity, people naturally begin wondering what might really be happening behind the scenes. What grabbed the most attention was how quickly the pushback appeared after the docuseries Bride of Charlie was revealed. Almost overnight, critics of Candace seemed to repeat the same talking points across different social platforms. Posts appeared accusing her of having questionable motives and presenting her work in the worst possible light. Viewers watching the situation unfold began asking a simple but important question. If the claims presented in the series are completely inaccurate, why launch such a coordinated response before the public even had the opportunity to watch the project? That question began appearing everywhere online. Because when such a fast and organized reaction shows up before the information itself is released, curiosity naturally grows. Some viewers started wondering what exactly might be causing concern. Is the reaction simply frustration about the level of attention the series is receiving? Or could there be worry that certain details discussed inside the project might lead to uncomfortable conversations? Social media discussions quickly filled with speculation as people tried to understand why the timing felt so unusual.
Here's what all of their posts looked like yesterday. As you can see, calling her a demon multiple different times, using practically the exact same words.
Like I said, you simply will not be able to deny that when you see the stuff that we have uncovered about her and the missing years, I'll say plural, of Erika's life. Very weird. Where was Erika?
It's what led to the coordinated attacks where we had Dan Bongino calling for physical violence against Candace Owens, claiming that Candace Owens should be tortured in hell.
The situation intensified even further when a reportedly leaked internal email connected to Turning Point USA began spreading across the internet. According to the material being shared online, staff members were allegedly encouraged to describe Candace in extremely negative terms and repeat that framing widely across social platforms. Critics claim the goal was to influence public perception about Candace before the docuseries had time to gain traction and before viewers could form their own opinions about the project. Then, another moment added even more fuel to the debate. Shortly after the email began circulating online, commentator Dan Bongino addressed the situation publicly and used wording that sounded very similar to what people believed they had seen inside the alleged internal message. That overlap immediately caught the attention of viewers. Many people began discussing whether the messaging might have moved beyond private conversations and started appearing in public commentary as well. Supporters of Candace say the pattern looks like an attempt to damage her credibility before audiences have the chance to judge the series for themselves. Others argue that the situation simply reflects strong disagreement about how the story is being presented. No matter which side people support, the timing of the reaction transformed the release of the docuseries into a much larger online controversy than many initially expected. And that spotlight quickly brought the focus back to Erika Kirk. Many viewers are now watching closely to see how she responds as attention surrounding the project continues to grow.
You go yourself, you demonic scum. This just can't be what this movement is. And if it is, I just don't want any part of it. You motherfucker. You deserve to feel the little licks of the flames of hell on every inch of your body.
That's right. What cause is dear to your heart?
Cause is dear to my Israel, the defense of Israel.
What is number one?
When a story generates this much reaction even before all the details have been released, curiosity tends to grow even stronger. The debate did not stop there. Dan Bongino became increasingly vocal during the conversation, repeating strong criticism while pushing back against Candace and her series. His comments drew attention quickly because Bongino previously stated that he had reviewed materials connected to the well-known confidential files associated with Epstein and concluded that nothing significant stood out to him That earlier statement added another layer to the current discussion, with viewers now examining every new comment being made as the media clash continues to unfold. For people who have followed Bongino's commentary for years, the intensity of his response did not feel entirely unexpected. His approach during political debates has often been blunt and direct, especially when he believes a narrative is being presented unfairly. Still, the timing raised questions because his remarks appeared right as the docuseries began gaining serious attention online. Whenever strong criticism appears exactly when a story starts trending, audiences naturally begin asking whether the reaction is spontaneous or part of a broader effort to influence the conversation. Then another well-known voice joined the debate. Ben Shapiro also began speaking out against Candace and used language that echoed many of the same criticisms already circulating across social media. During his commentary, he repeatedly described her actions in extremely negative terms, reinforcing the narrative that had already begun spreading online.
Vile piece of human debris, Candace Owens has released a trailer for her new series attacking Erika Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk. She has been suggesting for a while that TPUSA was complicit, if not in the murder of Charlie Kirk, then in the cover-up of the murder of Charlie Kirk. This is the stuff that Candace Owens has been doing. She is a conspiratorial, evil person, because that's who would do something like this, because what she's doing is evil, and when you watch her show, she gets paid to do that evil. She is making money off the murder of Charlie Kirk by literally implicating his widow and everyone else at TPUSA in that murder, and then trying to dig up pseudo dirt on the wife of the person who was murdered. I don't know what to call that other than evil trash. Candace Owens is an evil, twisted human being.
Once that happened, many observers started noticing something interesting. The same descriptions were appearing across different platforms, shared by multiple commentators, all within a surprisingly short period of time. At that point, online discussions shifted toward another question. Were those similarities simply coincidence? When nearly identical phrases begin appearing across separate outlets shortly after the release of a major project like the Bride of Charlie docuseries, audiences naturally notice the overlap. Some viewers believe it simply reflects widespread disagreement with Candace's claims. Others think the repeated language suggests that something more coordinated could be taking place behind the scenes. The timeline is exactly what continues fueling the discussion. First, the docuseries launches and immediately begins, attracting widespread attention. Next, a leaked internal message reportedly connected to Turning Point USA begins circulating online, encouraging staff members to promote a specific narrative about Candace. Soon after that, public commentators begin using very similar language during their broadcasts. For critics analyzing the sequence of events, the pattern appears less like coincidence and more like a carefully timed strategy. But the situation also raises a much bigger question. Why now? Candace did not suddenly begin raising questions about Erika Kirk or the organizations connected to her. She has discussed these concerns for a long time. From the moment she began examining the official explanation surrounding the events connected to Charlie,
2008 is where it gets pretty interesting, because I was trying to find Erika's very present, and suddenly in 2008, I can't find her, okay? I put this as like Erika's missing school year. Now, and she's going to confirm that after she passes her crown, so in 2007, she's wearing the crown, and then she passes her crown, she is going to confirm that she does indeed go missing after that period. So this would be, of course, in 2008. Take a listen to what Erika says herself.
I prayed for God to just strip my ego from all of that stuff, all of that world, all of the plastic hat crowns. So I locked myself in my room, basically turned into a hermit for about a good 8 months. The only person I would see outside of my family was my pastor's wife.
She made it clear that she believes certain details deserved closer attention. That approach has been part of her commentary from the very beginning. So if the questions themselves are not new, why did the reactions suddenly become so intense at this exact moment? Why did the criticism grow louder almost overnight? And why did so many voices appear to adopt nearly identical language at nearly the same time? Those are the questions many people across social media are now trying to piece together as they carefully examine the timeline. This is where the story takes another unexpected turn. According to claims circulating from unnamed online sources, some individuals believe Erika herself may have played a role in encouraging the wave of criticism aimed at Candace. These reports suggest that certain influencers may have been approached and encouraged to push a specific narrative online, portraying Candace in an extremely negative way. Supporters of this idea believe the goal may have been to shape public perception before the docuseries had time to build momentum. At this stage, those claims remain part of ongoing online conversations rather than confirmed information. Still, the debate itself has already added another layer. of intrigue to an already heated situation. As the series continues gaining attention and more viewers begin reviewing the details for themselves,
the enemy would love for me to be angry. He would love it. He would love it. Because it would distract me from building what Charlie entrusted to me, raising our babies, turning point, being there for the team, being there for what the future holds.
The tension surrounding this story shows no sign of slowing down. As events continued unfolding online, the conversation surrounding Candace's docuseries only grew more intense. The release of Bride of Charlie did far more than spark debate about the documentary itself. It opened the door to a much broader discussion about influence, messaging, and who might be shaping the public narrative around the story. Viewers quickly began noticing something that felt unusual about the reaction to the project. The pushback against Candace appeared highly organized. The same accusations, the same descriptions, and nearly identical talking points were appearing across multiple social media accounts almost simultaneously. That pattern is exactly what caused many observers to slow down and take a closer look. Normally, when a controversial documentary appears online, the reactions are scattered. Some viewers support it, others criticize it, and many simply wait for more information before forming an opinion. But in this case, the response seemed unusually synchronized. The language used by certain influencers and commentators looked strikingly similar, and the timing was extremely tight. Within hours of the series gaining traction, the wave of criticism had already begun spreading rapidly across platforms. Online commentators and independent researchers began reviewing screenshots, posts, and timelines to understand how the messaging appeared to move so quickly. Some users pointed out that several influencers who posted the strongest criticisms seemed to use nearly identical wording in their captions. Others noticed that certain accounts repeated the same framing again and again, describing Candace in very harsh terms, while encouraging audiences to dismiss the project entirely. For many observers, the situation began to feel less like spontaneous backlash and more like a narrative that had already been carefully shaped. Once again, attention returned to Erika Kirk. As the online storm continued building, several voices across the internet began suggesting that Erika herself might have played a role in encouraging the response. According to those claims, influencers may have been contacted privately and encouraged to share specific talking points about Candace and the docuseries. Some discussions even suggested that incentives might have been involved, although those claims remain part of ongoing online debate rather than verified information. Even the possibility alone was enough to ignite massive conversation across social platforms. Supporters of Candace argued that the intensity of the backlash seemed to support her concerns. In their view, if the documentary truly contained nothing meaningful, there would be little reason for such a strong effort to discredit it before audiences had time to watch the full series and evaluate the information themselves. On the other side of the debate, critics of Candace strongly reject that interpretation. They argue the reaction simply reflects serious disagreement with the claims presented in the documentary. From their perspective, public figures have every right to respond if they believe they are being portrayed unfairly or inaccurately. In their view, the backlash is not coordinated messaging at all, but rather individuals speaking out because they strongly disagree with the narrative. Regardless of which side someone supports, one thing is clear: the story has captured enormous attention online. Clips from the docuseries have spread rapidly across social media, with viewers examining every scene and analyzing every statement closely. Some people are focusing on the timeline Candace highlights throughout the series. Others are studying the reactions from commentators who spoke out almost immediately after the documentary began trending. Each new clip and every new post seems to add another layer to the growing controversy. Another reason the conversation continues expanding is the lingering mystery surrounding the events connected to Charlie. Candace has repeatedly suggested that certain elements within the official explanation deserve closer attention. She has pointed to moments in the timeline that she believes raise questions and argues that some details appear inconsistent. Those concerns form the central focus of her docuseries, and they are exactly what has attracted both intense interest and strong criticism. For viewers who were already familiar with the situation, the series introduced additional interviews, documents, and commentary that Candace believes highlight those unresolved questions. For people learning about the story for the first time,
so Lori, she runs a few companies like E3 Tech, AZ Tech, and G Tech. And on their websites, they describe projects in border protection, semiconductors, disaster prediction, dual fuel vehicle technology, even NASA Mars experiments. And remember, Raytheon partnered with Israel's Rafael to build the Iron Dome missile defense system. At the very core of that technology are advanced semiconductors, the same kind of tech Lori's companies claim to work with, and they were contracted with them. And I want to be very clear that she does not have any contracts with Rafael, but she has had contracts with Raytheon. And here's where I feel like everything comes full circle, because in 2025, Donald Trump himself pushed for building what he called a gold dome over America, modeled directly after Israel's Iron Dome. That's from his own speeches and the White House site.
the documentary opened the door to a complicated narrative filled with competing perspectives and unanswered details. And as often happens when a story captures public curiosity, the internet quickly transformed into a massive research hub. Discussion forums, reaction videos, and long comment threads began appearing almost immediately after the first episodes were released. People started comparing statements, analyzing past interviews, and revisiting earlier media coverage connected to the situation. Some users even began building detailed timelines, arranging events step by step to see whether the sequence aligned with explanations that had previously been shared. The deeper viewers looked into the story, the more questions began to appear. People started wondering why certain reactions appeared so quickly after the docuseries launched. Why were several commentators using nearly identical language when discussing Candace? And if the internal email that circulated online is genuine, what might that reveal about how narratives can sometimes be shaped behind the scenes? Those questions are now fueling enormous engagement across social media. Platforms, supporters of Candace believe the reaction suggests she touched on a sensitive topic that forced people to respond quickly. Critics argue the situation simply reflects a very polarizing documentary that naturally triggered strong opinions from different sides. But regardless of which interpretation someone believes, the discussion has expanded far beyond the original series. Meanwhile, Erika Kirk remains at the center of the entire debate. Every new screenshot, every circulating rumor, and every fresh reaction seems to pull the spotlight directly back toward her. People want to know whether the claims about influencer messaging contain any truth. They want to understand whether the pushback against Candace developed naturally or whether certain voices may have helped amplify the response. At this stage, many of those questions remain unanswered. The situation continues evolving as more viewers watch the episodes and share their perspectives online. Some believe the docuseries could eventually encourage deeper examination of the events connected to Charlie. Others believe the controversy may slowly fade once the initial surge of attention begins to settle. But one thing is undeniable. The release of Bride of Charlie has sparked one of the most heated online debates in recent memory. Instead of quietly fading away, the series ignited a much wider conversation about narrative, credibility, and influence in today's digital media environment.
Lori Francevy established the Everyday Heroes Foundation, which was supposed to help children in need. That was established in Arizona under Erika's mother's name, Lori Francevy. What they decided to do, as charities do, is that they developed certain projects and certain missions, and what spun out from Lori's charity was the Romanian Angels Project. And they got this deal with the military. They worked with the military in Romania to help orphans. Okay. Now, it is a fact that they worked with, at that time, Colonel Otto Buscher. Colonel Otto Buscher was then accused of running a brothel with young children.
And with new reactions appearing almost every day, it seems clear that this story is far from finished. As the conversation surrounding Candace's docuseries continued spreading across the internet, the story suddenly took another unexpected turn that pushed the debate into a completely new phase. What began as disagreement about the claims presented in the series quickly expanded into a much larger discussion about influence, messaging, and whether efforts may have been made to shape public perception before audiences even had the chance to fully watch the project. The moment that intensified the conversation arrived when activity on the platform started gaining major traction. One user posted a lengthy thread claiming that several influencers had been contacted and offered compensation to publicly criticize Candace and repeat extremely harsh descriptions about her online. The post included a list of names and quickly began spreading across multiple platforms. Within hours, thousands of users were debating whether the claims might be accurate or whether the situation could have been misunderstood. Among the individuals mentioned in the growing online discussion was Matt Wallace, a well-known influencer on X with a following of more than 2 million users. Wallace surprised many people when he chose to respond directly instead of remaining silent. In a post that rapidly gained attention, he explained that he had received an offer encouraging him to speak negatively about Candace, but said he decided not to accept it. His message traveled quickly across social media because it appeared to suggest that at least one influencer had been approached with such a proposal. Once screenshots of his statement began circulating widely, the conversation intensified across multiple platforms. Supporters of Candace pointed to the post as possible indication that something unusual might be happening behind the scenes. For many observers, the implications felt significant. If influencers were truly being contacted and encouraged to promote certain narratives online, it could suggest an effort to influence how audiences view the docuseries. And because Wallace has such a large and visible audience, his decision to openly discuss the situation immediately drew widespread attention. However, not everyone interpreted the moment in the same way. Some commentators urged caution and reminded viewers that online claims can easily be misunderstood or taken out of context. Without additional confirmation, they argued it would be difficult to determine exactly what may have happened privately or who might have been involved in making such offers. Still, the timing of Wallace's statement added another layer of intensity to the situation. The Bride of Charlie docuseries had only recently premiered, and the online debate surrounding it was already extremely active. Viewers across social media were sharing clips, discussing the claims presented in the series, and reacting to public figures who had strongly criticized Candace's project. The introduction of influencer messaging claims added an entirely new dimension to the conversation. Suddenly, the focus was no longer only on the content of the documentary itself. Instead, attention shifted toward the broader environment surrounding its release. People began asking whether attempts might have been made to shape the public narrative before audiences had the opportunity to form their own opinions. Supporters of Candace say this latest development raises several important questions. From their perspective, if the docuseries truly contained nothing meaningful, there would be little reason for such an intense effort to discredit it before audiences even finished watching. They argue that directly responding to the claims presented in the series might be a more effective way to address the situation than waves of negative commentary appearing across social media. And that once again places the spotlight back on Erika Kirk. Critics now say the level of backlash against Candace seems inconsistent with comments Erika has made in the past. At one point, she suggested that responding to conspiracy-style discussions often gives them more attention than they deserve, and that her focus was on continuing the mission and legacy connected to Charlie's work. Those earlier comments emphasized moving forward, rather than becoming trapped in ongoing public disputes. Many supporters respected that position because it sounded calm, focused, and determined to keep attention on larger goals instead of internet drama. But critics now say the current moment feels very different. Instead of ignoring the documentary, the reaction surrounding it has turned into a major online confrontation. Influencers are discussing it constantly, commentators are debating it across multiple platforms, and viewers are analyzing every new development almost in real time. Naturally, that contrast has sparked even more curiosity. If the original goal was to avoid amplifying speculation, why has the response become so intense? Why are commentators and influencers repeating similar criticisms across several platforms at nearly the same time? Some observers believe the explanation may actually be fairly straightforward. When a documentary challenges widely accepted narratives about a sensitive situation, strong reactions are often unavoidable. Public figures frequently respond strongly when they feel a project portrays them or their organizations unfairly. From that perspective, the backlash may simply be a normal reaction to controversial media coverage. Others are interpreting the sequence of events in a very different way. They argue that the timeline surrounding the release of the docuseries feels unusually coordinated. First, the series launches and immediately begins attracting widespread attention online. Then a message reportedly encouraging negative framing about Candace begins circulating across social media. Shortly afterward, several commentators begin using very similar language while criticizing the project. And not long after that, an influencer publicly states that he had received an offer encouraging him to post negative content about Candace. When people examine those developments together, some believe the pattern becomes difficult to ignore. From their perspective, the timing of each moment creates a sequence that raises questions about whether the narrative surrounding the docuseries may have started forming before viewers had the opportunity to evaluate the series independently. Of course, without clear confirmation, these interpretations remain part of an ongoing online debate. But one thing is undeniable. The controversy surrounding Bride of Charlie has grown into one of the most widely discussed media stories in recent memory. What began as a documentary release has now expanded into a massive online conversation involving commentators, influencers, and everyday viewers trying to understand how the situation unfolded. Clips from the series continue spreading rapidly across social platforms. Viewers are pausing scenes, analyzing statements, and comparing details with past interviews and earlier reports connected to the situation. Entire discussion threads have formed where people attempt to build detailed timelines of events and search for possible inconsistencies between what has been said publicly and what may have happened privately. In many ways, the internet has transformed the situation into something resembling a giant collaborative investigation. Thousands of users are sharing screenshots, commentary, and analysis as they try to understand what may have taken place behind the scenes. Some users are digging through older interviews. Others are reviewing past posts, statements, and public appearances. The goal for many viewers is simple: to piece together the timeline as clearly as possible and understand how each event fits into the larger story. That process has created an enormous amount of engagement across social media platforms. Long discussion threads now stretch across forums and comment sections, with people presenting their own interpretations of the timeline. Some viewers believe the documentary raises legitimate questions that deserve attention. Others argue the project presents a narrative they strongly disagree with. But regardless of which side someone supports, the level of interest surrounding the story continues to grow. Meanwhile, Erika remains at the center of the conversation whether she chooses to respond publicly or not. Every new post, every circulating claim, and every reaction eventually brings the focus back to her role in the story. People want to know whether the influencer messaging claims contain any truth. They also want to understand whether the backlash against Candace developed naturally or whether certain voices helped amplify the reaction across social media. The intensity of the online discussion has also highlighted something important about how modern media works. In today's digital environment, stories no longer remain limited to traditional outlets or scheduled broadcasts. Instead, they evolve through constant interaction between creators, commentators, and audiences. A single video or documentary can quickly spark thousands of posts, reactions, and debates that spread far beyond the original content. That process appears to be unfolding right now with the release of Bride of Charlie. Instead of the discussion ending once the episodes were released, the opposite seems to have happened. Each new reaction has created additional questions, and those questions have inspired even more people to examine the story closely. Some viewers are focusing primarily on the details presented within the documentary itself. They are studying the timeline Candace highlights and considering whether the questions she raises deserve further attention. Others are paying closer attention to the reactions surrounding the series. For them, the speed and intensity of the backlash has become almost as interesting as the content of the documentary. Another reason the debate continues expanding is the role of influencers and online commentators. In today's media landscape, individuals with large followings can significantly shape how stories are discussed across the internet. When multiple voices with large audiences begin discussing the same topic at once, the conversation can grow extremely quickly. That is exactly what appears to have happened following the release of the docuseries. Influencers, commentators, and analysts began sharing their reactions almost immediately. Some supported the project, others strongly criticized it, and many viewers began examining the arguments presented by both sides while trying to decide for themselves what they believe. This environment has turned the situation into something much larger than a simple disagreement about a documentary. It has become a broader discussion about credibility, influence, and how narratives develop in the digital age. People are now asking questions not only about the claims presented in the series, but also about how public reactions form and spread online. At the same time, the continued attention surrounding the story shows just how powerful internet communities can be when they focus on a single topic. Thousands of people working independently can quickly gather information, compare timelines, and analyze statements in ways that would have been nearly impossible just a few decades ago. Whether those efforts eventually lead to new understanding or simply more debate remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that the discussion shows no sign of slowing down. Every day brings new commentary, new reactions, and new attempts by online communities to piece together the full picture surrounding this situation. For many viewers, the story has become less about one specific documentary and more about the broader questions it raised. How are narratives formed in the digital age? Who influences the direction of public conversations? And how quickly can information spread when millions of people are discussing the same topic at the same time? Those questions are now at the center of the debate as audiences continue examining every development connected to the docuseries. Some believe the controversy may eventually encourage deeper conversations about transparency and accountability. Others believe the situation will remain a highly debated media moment that people interpret in very different ways. But one thing is certain: the attention surrounding this story continues growing as more viewers discover the series and begin exploring the discussions surrounding it. With so many voices now participating in the conversation, the next development could appear at any moment. If you've been following this situation, share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the claims circulating online, and how do you interpret the reactions surrounding the docuseries? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more updates, share this with others who want to stay informed, and we'll see you on the next one.